how do you define success? Because say you have an emphasis on self-improvement. How do you define success for yourself then, in terms of your music?
I think that it changes, and the bar always gets raised higher and higher. So I think in the past, successful for me has been being able to look back on a large body of work and remember what each thing or what each moment or each song or whatever each project represented. Almost like a photo album type thing. You look back, you remember this, you remember that, and you remember who you were, where your life went, like what you were trying, everything. It's like some kind of documentation. And I see that as successful, and there's a long way to go because I have so much to experience and I have so much to make that, until I've made all of that and then I get to look back on all of that, I can't really say that I've reached, a huge success. So.
It might be early days because Ology hasn't been released that long, but do you already have a certain sentiment attached to that process, or did the other?
Yeah, I do, yeah. I think that it was a really big step. I think it was the biggest step that I think it was the most I've ever grown and the most that I've ever dug up in like a year's time. And I hope I can, even after the project's already been completed, I can still feel that growth like happening. It's like an exponential kind of like curve. So I do feel really proud of that for that reason.
And well, you mentioned in the beginning that early on in your life you were a quiet guy. So was it difficult to bare your soul, so to say, in your lyrics? Because some of the songs are very personal.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's weird because it really is two extremes. Like, on the album I share a lot of information, and my default when even just having a conversation is to say as little information as possible. And it's just natural for me. It's just a habit. Like I'm just used to saying as little as possible. So I think that it almost is some kind of disconnect in my head. So it doesn't feel as scary and daunting as it should. But I think that helps me to be able to recognize that, and hopefully it might minimize later on, or maybe there's something else in there that I'll figure out later on. So.
Is there one track on the album in particular that gave you where you were hesitant to put it up? In terms of what you were talking about?
Yeah, I think there's like delivery and like lyrics. I think for delivery, like I'd open up is like the delivery of the verses and stuff. I just was like, oh man, like it's too like it's so soft. It's so like that made me really uncomfortable for that reason, which I think is a good thing because it showed that I was afraid to be like vulnerable. I was afraid of like what people would see me as, and that's irrelevant at this point. And I think lyrically, like the song, maybe Bourbon or like Bone and Tissue, but probably Bourbon is just one of those songs where it's like I just can't say the lyrics. Like it's just a little bit too personal. And I remember doing those lyrics in a very specific moment. And it just, it's one of those things. It's like a journal,
Do you perform that song live?
Yeah.
So when you play Bourbon, does that take you back to that initial emotion?
No, it's different for me. I think it's different. I think that the recording kind of means what it means because it's like literally a photo. Everything else is almost like a reinterpretation. So it like means something and it feels a little bit different each time, which is also good because that's therapeutic in itself, because it's just like always moving and changing and evolving and growing with you and your psyche.
And I don't want to pry too much, so if you don't want to answer, you don't have to.
Oh yeah, sure.
But what was the initial spark for Bourbon?
I just remember I did that song. I usually like working just during the day where there's like lots of sun out and stuff, but I did that song. I think I had like maybe like 5 beers and I like recorded that song and wrote that song and it was like 3 a.m. and like nobody was around. And it was just one of those things where it's like I'd had a lot of conversations with like friends and family and just a bunch of different things. And, it just all culminated into that moment, you know.
And well, like you say, you were a bit hesitant to be so vulnerable. So once you've completed the album and it's well received now by the media, by the public. How does that feel then? How does that?
Yeah, I'm honored that anyone even wanted to listen. So if they listen and they like it, also that's awesome. And I couldn't be more honored to have their support. And yeah, definitely surreal that people would say nice things about it for sure.
And if you go back to when you were in New York, did you envision where you are now?
No, I wouldn't say I envisioned it. I might have fantasized, but like definitely didn't envision it at all.
How did you see your life trajectory at that point? Did you think you were going to continue in music?
Yeah, I definitely knew I would continue it. Yeah, but I didn't necessarily think that was correlated to people like liking it or listening to it or caring about it or caring about what I was saying at all. But it's great to have that support for sure.
And well, then the last thing I want to talk about is kind of the music that inspired you to because people always have certain songs that some specific meaning is attached to. So what for you were the artists or the songs that kind of helped you through all those things you've mentioned?
I might be the worst because I think that it wasn't. If I'm thinking that deep, it was more so like movies and the environment and like taking walks and being alone than music. But there's a lot of music that I love. But when I make music, I definitely channel. I think more so the emotions that I feel when I'm thinking about all those other stimuli that make me who I am. More so than like music that I've heard.
And then you say movies, so what kind of movies?
Oh, I'm a huge like David Lynch fan, a huge P.T. Anderson fan. I love Magnolia. I love Mulholland Drive is my favorite movie of all time. Something when you're like really alone, especially at night, and you're just thinking about whatever, the way that reality blends with the abstract in your head, and then the hypothetical and the questionable, and everything is just, you realize how one everything is, and that one abstract thought doesn't necessarily exist any more or any less than what's in front of you. And those directors, I feel like, play with that idea really well. And that's just always been a concept that inspires me.
I think they're going to make a lot of noise now.
Oh, man. Might have been perfect timing. Yo, thank you so much. Thank you.